gang, it's game night! Yep. El Conquistador thinks we should stick to the classics tonight. So, who wants to play Trivial Pursuit? It's the 90s edition. No. Trivia games suck. You already have all the questions and answers memorized because you own the game. So there's no point in playing it. Agreed, let's play something that takes some real thinking. Well, okay. Oh, how about Risk? It's the best strategy game ever! You always do this. That game takes like 8 hours to play because you always turtle up in Australia and we can't stop you. And then you always complain that we gang up on you. Hello, you always lose first because you suck at the game. You do gang up on El Conquistador, and he has video evidence to back up that claim. And until you recognize that, we will not be playing Risk. And besides, everybody is tired of your stupid war playlist of the 99 darkest pieces of classical music. Well, all right. Those were a couple low blows. You know, let's just play Monopoly. Everyone loves that game. We have 2 versions of it. There isn't a soul alive that actually likes that game, but since you force us to play board games every week, let's just do it and get it over with. Agreed. Well, trust old El Conquistador gang, we're gonna have a blast. Uh-oh, you landed on Boardwalk again, and looks like you don't quite have enough money to pay up. I hate this game! Let's be honest, we were all thinking it. Is this how your game nights end? Throughout history, humans have had an insatiable desire to play the classic board games. You have Trivial Pursuit to crown the master of trivia. You have Risk to crown the master of strategy. And you have Monopoly to crown the master of not being the one that throws the board across the room. What if El Conquistador told you that there was a way to play all 3 of these games in one nice little neat package? Well, that's Hasbro Game Night! It's the complete video game package of 3 of the most iconic games ever. So, let's go ahead and dive right in with Trivial Pursuit. There are many versions of this board game in existence, around 300 to be sort of exact, because at its most basic level, it's just a trivia game, and new trivia questions get created every single day. But the appeal of a board game where the owner can memorize the questions and answers is quite non-existent. With Hasbro Game Night, however, you essentially have an unlimited pool of questions that can be updated whenever the developers feel like it. Now, of course, they didn't actually do this, so there is a finite amount of questions in this game, but that leads way to Hasbro Game Night 2 with Trivial Pursuit 2, Electric Boogaloo. Nonetheless, there's a lot of questions in this game, and it's a lot less likely the owner can be a piece of crap and memorize the questions and answers. No matter what version you play, the goal of this game is simple. Collect 6 wedges by answering a ton of questions. In this version, there's several different rounds and categories that keep it fresh while you play. If no one has won, the last round is a series of quick-fire questions, so that the game doesn't drag on. You can play this with a computer, who instantly knows all the answers, thus they're programmed to just make mistakes randomly, so you could feel like you've actually accomplished something when you win, but you really didn't because you can't beat a computer in real life. You can also play couch co-op or online with friends and or strangers, and that is where the real accomplishment lies because bragging rights are all that matter when you play board games. This is just a simple game optimized for a video game console. And sure, there are dopey cutscenes to deal with that are inserted in for our excitement, but those can be skipped. Oh, what's this? It's time for the final round. Let's see if El Conquistador loses on the wrestling question. Spoiler alert, he did not. And for the Mega Nerds, you get a bevy of stats at the end of the game. So, you know what category to work on for next time. If you like trivia or are just training to win a $5 gift card at the local bar, you will enjoy this game.
Welcome to the War Room. I am Iris, your integrated reconnaissance and intelligence system. The world is at war. Your objective is to defeat your opponents by capturing every territory.
Next up, we have Risk. It's also a board game that has many different versions, coming in at around 50. This one is a luck-based strategy game where you can take your army and conquer the world. Whether you are attacking or defending, your fate is determined by a roll of the dice. Nothing is worse than actually setting this board game up and playing with all the small pieces involved. After about 8 hours, there will be lost pieces and hurt feelings. But it really is an awesome game, and with Hasbro Game Night, you can cut about 7.5 hours off your playtime. The game starts as you and your enemies place one piece after another, sort of strategically, until you are out, and then battle begins. You can either play varying levels of the computer, your friends, or a mix of both. But again, the highest level computer knows how to counter everything. So if you beat it, you are a master and commander. Now, you don't actually have to know anything about the rules, as this game handles that all. The only important thing is that when you are on the attack, you have up to 3 dice to slam the defender, who only has 2. But beware, the defenders win ties. From there, try to conquer whole continents instead of random spots, as this allots you more troops every turn. You can also trade in cards to get more troops, but that takes time to collect enough to make it worthwhile. Most of the time, the largest army will be victorious, so do what you can to get as many troops as possible and then let loose. Maybe even play some classical music in the background while you decimate the enemy. There, of course, is an element of luck involved based on what pops up on your dice, so try a whole mess of strategies to see what works best. El Conquistador likes to acquire the Americas because USA, 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 ho! You can speed up the game significantly, so you can seriously play 4 to 5 games in the time it would take to play one in real life. And speaking of speeding things up, why don't we all watch and enjoy El Conquistador's victory lap set to some more classical music. Again, Risk is really a fun game, but it has a huge barrier in its setup and the amount of time it takes to play, and of course the hurt feelings along the way when you have that one friend who really stinks at the game and they think you're ganging up on them. But alas, Hasbro Game Night once again has taken a game and consolidated it in a way that just makes it really fun to play. And you feel quite accomplished when you conquer the whole wide world, or at least parts of it. And lastly, we have Monopoly, the board game that everybody hates, but everybody owns. Look, Monopoly is like McDonald's. They wouldn't be selling 1 million board games every minute if all of you didn't continually buy it, and because of that, there are too many versions to count. That comparison is super ironic because back in the day, McDonald's used to have Monopoly pieces on their food, where you could win prizes. Old El Conquistador used to get a Happy Meal here or there, some fries occasionally, but the big prize always eluded him, and that's because there was this huge scam where this guy defrauded McDonald's of all the winning game pieces, and he stole over $24 million. Now that is way more than anybody that you ever have played Monopoly with could have stolen during the game. But therein lies the problem with Monopoly. Everybody cheats. So how do you combat that problem? Well, Hasbro Game Night! Ding, 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 ding. And look, El Conquistador thinks the real reason that everybody hates Monopoly is because they don't actually know how to play it. Nobody ever bothers to read the instructions since the game has been around so long that we are all just born with that knowledge. That is mostly true, but let's actually check out what the game has for us. The premise is simple. Collect money and property and send your opponents to the poorhouse. You can build houses and hotels when you own all the properties of one color to increase the rent and make that goal just a little bit easier. Once again, setup is handled. Whether it is a computer or human player, no one can steal any money from the bank. Looking at you, Jerome. And that's the first fight avoided. There is a little strategy involved, as you have to decide what properties you are willing to buy should you land on them, but the roll of the dice decides your fate once again. If only there was a game that's kind of like life out there that would just determine everything by rolls of the dice. Anyways, the biggest thing nobody ever does when you play this at home is when a player decides to not buy a property, it is supposed to go to auction, which means this game could be played in under an hour. The second fight has now been avoided. So work your way around that board and see what happens. You can buy and sell property, go to jail, park for free, get lucky or angry with a chance or community chest spot, pass go, collect $200, and then immediately pay that $200 in taxes. The possibilities are endless. Well, actually, that's about it. Thankfully, though, you can skip a lot of the animations to speed things up. Nobody needs to see the computer get those 3 consecutive double rolls that sends them to jail. It just takes way too long. The other thing nobody ever does at home is wheel and deal with other players. If you need money and they need property, you can make a trade. Preferably in-game items only, but it can get kind of weird if you want. Now, El Conquistador always tries to put his eggs in one basket by building up one set of properties. Sometimes you get that big payday, other times you don't, but playing this way will avoid the 3rd, 4th, and 5th fights, but not the 6th, as it's Monopoly, and wherever 2 or more are gathered in its name, there's bound to be a fight. The last bit of new info for those playing at home is when you bankrupt someone, they have to give you everything they have. This will then likely make the game come to a screeching halt as you become the ultimate slumlord and put all your friends and family on the streets. And to that end, there is no greater goal in life than getting all of those who love you to hate you. You see, Monopoly isn't going anywhere, as there will always be someone who wants to play it. So why not take most of the stress away and play it digitally? Thank you, Hasbro Game Night, for taking something that we just have to do as human beings and making it a little less awful.
Yeehaw!